Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name's Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
How you doing, Zach? You remember that we do this show? Do you remember we talk about races sometimes? This is Super License Show. We're talking about the first race of the 2021 calendar for this season, which is in Bahrain.
Yeah, it feels odd, right? Not in Australia. I was expecting warm, sunny days, palm trees around Albert Park, to hear from my friends back home, how interesting the fan zone is and all that kind of stuff, and expect to see Michael Lemonardo on, in backgrounds of press conferences. But instead, it was the balmy evenings of Bahrain and empty stands.
It's true. So we got empty stand. Is that south of Pakistan? I can't forget. Anyway, I hope you've had a good week, mate, friend. What kind of vibes are you bringing to the show this week?
I'm bringing positive vibes. You know why? Lockdown situation has changed in London and
good.
the UK. So now we can meet some more. Yeah, we can meet more people. It's gone positive. More people are getting vaccinated. It's sunny. We're getting weather in the 20s this week, which seems impossible and crazy. But yeah, I'm bringing all the positive vibes, and this is like a early week. Like this is like essentially the day after the race, right? We're right into it. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're not fucking around this week, at least. Other weeks we fuck around. This week, though, I mean, I finished watching the race several minutes ago. It feels like that anyway. I haven't had that extra leisurely day that I have to steal insights from other people and just prepare myself mentally, etc. Straight into it this week. No more futzing around. That's a polite way of saying fucking around. So this week we're going to talk about, we're back into standard super license format. So we're going to be talking about the race. We're going to do a 30-second recap of the race and then unpack all the exciting talking points. Zach, you have got, I'm excited about this, a fun super quiz. Then we're going to look at the fantasy league, and we're also just going to see what else we can get up to in the next, I want to say, I'll take a punt from here, about 52 minutes from now.
Okay, 52 minutes.
Let's see who gets closest.
Yeah, we can work to that timer.
We can wait till that timer. Speaking of timers, we can get into the race. There's tons to talk about from the race. I thought it was actually a pretty solid race for a first one. Again, maybe we're used to the Australian Grand Prix opening the season and being boring, but this race, there's a few things we can talk about. Maybe we just get straight into what we call the race recap. Nope, not that one, this one.
Let us race a bit. I gave him space. Let's hurry up and get out of here. We've got a race to do.
When I get time, I will put in some fresh voice clips in that to make them a little bit more contemporary. But for now, that will do. And I hope that gets you suitably excited to talk about round one in Bahrain. So, as is our tradition, Zach, we set a timer for 30 seconds. This is what we call the Super License patent pending. I don't think you can patent podcast segments, but we'll try it. This is the Super License patent pending 30-second race recap. This is to stop us from blathering on for 5 hours just to describe what happened in the damn race. So, because you're doing a quiz this week, I'm going to have a go at recapping the race in just 30 seconds. Any words of wisdom? I haven't done this for a while. I'm going to do some stretches while you give me some tips. But yeah, I'm nearly ready to go.
Look, I think, focus on the key points. As with anything, focus on your strengths. This is not the time to develop your weaknesses. We're live on a podcast, so really lean into what you know really well. Ignore the rust. I know you're rusty. It's cool. You played the wrong theme coming into this part of the show. Don't worry about it. Just focus on your strengths.
Ignore rusty. So I won't talk about George Russell. No worries. All right. That's good tips. Appreciate it. That saves me at least a few tenths there. I'm going to hit this timer. Let's just get this thing done. Bahrain Grand Prix started with Verstappen taking pole. Surprise! No, sorry, Mercedes. You didn't take pole this week, but they did win and they come third. So boy, big recovery. But I think Red Bull are probably looking like the fastest car at the moment. Oh dear. Perez had a charging drive from the back to recover up into the high points. Sebastian Vettel had pretty much a Sebastian Vettel weekend. McLaren are looking extremely good. I would say though that Alpine and probably Aston Martin not looking so good. Yuki Tsunoda showed some promise, but still not sure exactly what he can do.
That felt reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that touched on some of the more positive points and maybe ignored some of the more negative points, but that's what the rest of the race recap's for. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to feed off your positive energy. Yeah.
First one of the season, you're being positive, everybody's, maybe you threw Tsunoda under the bus there. I'm not sure, of everyone.
I'm not sure what I said. Bloody Lewis Hamilton snatches the win. Who had that on their dance card? Who had that on their 2021 prediction card? Probably not that many people.
No, I don't think so. And wow, Rod, I mean, in the standard Zach is back in the office and Formula One is back. And let's see, people know Zach as liking Formula One. On my meeting this morning, I had everyone telling me how brilliant the F1 race was. It was almost like a Twilight Zone episode because I was like, wow, everybody's so keen to talk about this thing. And we talked out by the time I get to talk to Rod today. But what a great finish. It feels like this is like the last 3 seasons have been a build up to this moment where it's like, would we actually see 2 guys from 2 different teams who are really good actually racing? And, tire differential partly to blame there, but genuinely not just gripping crescendo for those last 10 laps, but strategy through the whole race. It wasn't weirdly interrupted by any random thing of a random safety car in the middle that to artificially bring them closer. It was no, these 2 drivers, 2 quick cars trying to work it out, and essentially leaving everybody else behind. How did it make you feel? Do you want more of the same? Or are we looking back with kind of poo-tinted glasses at the last few seasons of F1 being a bit boring? Is this what it should be like all the time?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the boredom of talking about how great Hamilton is and how he wins everything. Maybe it's that, but I was really salivating at the prospect of Verstappen winning a race, and that's really saying something given how I feel about that man. But I think it's showing that, at least in this early, there's only one race. Let's all just calm down. Let's calm the farm. Keep that farm calm. It's only one race, but it looks like Red Bull are faster on paper than Mercedes at the moment, which is brilliant. Mercedes are incredibly good at recovering any deficit they have to anyone else in the early phase of the season. By mid-season, they're absolutely smashing it. So, you'd almost pencil that in as a Mercedes advantage at the moment, even though they're behind, which seems weird. But I'm really looking forward to more races like that where if we can keep the Red Bull and Mercedes even close, we know we're going to get a battle, at least between Verstappen and Hamilton. That'll be nice. One thing that I think kept me interested throughout the whole race was the fact that even though Verstappen he qualified fastest, he led the race, because the undercut here was so powerful, it really gave the advantage to the Mercedes cars, especially Hamilton. So they pitted, and then Verstappen was like, oh shit. So then he decided, well, if I pit now, I'm toast, because the undercut here is just going to cook me. But what I could do is try and run a bit longer, and that just created this weird offset of, who's going to pit when, and so on. And it did take the whole race to play out. And there's obviously the attempt from Max in the late stages where, they said you're going to catch him in 5 laps. And he did. It was great. Normally we get this and nothing happens though. But it looked like he could have probably got the move done. And he took the chance that he had. Unfortunately, he went off track and was told to give it back, which he did straight away, which it was always going to mean that it was not going to be a controversial post-race. But that being said, he did kind of squander his only chance at an overtake, and then Hamilton is able to sort of just keep his head and cruise more or less from there to the victory.
Yeah, it was interesting that we got a little bit of controversy, and it feels like in other seasons or in other races, Max would have been like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm not giving the place back. I'll just do it. And we heard a little bit afterwards that he was like, you should have just let me go. I would have been able to build a 5-second lead, and they would have penalized me for that, which doesn't quite feel sporting in a sense. Wow. It's like, that really reminded me of, when you see really expensive cars parked illegally on, and they're just like, well, yeah, because I'll just park, I'll just put my Ferrari wherever I want because I don't want other people here. And I didn't want to have to find a park, so I just pulled out in front of the cafe.
I have a story about
and
that.
I'll just pay the fee.
I went grocery shopping the other day, and I saw this guy in this massive big red Chevy, beautifully polished and everything, pull up, and he was right in front of me, pulled right into the disabled parking spot. And I was like struggling to find a spot. And eventually when I came back into the shop, I walked right past the car and I was sort of glaring at it as this old man with a walking stick got out with a very prominent disabled sticker right on the front. And I was like, oh shit, fuck, I've got this completely wrong. I didn't say anything to him, thank goodness. Or I didn't peep him or anything, but boy, that's one of those moments where...
Chevy.
Yeah, except, I think I had that thought. I was like, oh man, this is the kind of guy who just thinks he runs the world, can do whatever he wants. Boy, it would be a shame if someone walked past with their trolley and just dinged the side of his door or something. I would never do that, but I did think it. But exactly. I'm glad I didn't, because boy, I would have looked like a right fucking twit.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's the last thing you need. Is to look like a right.
Tell me about
futz and twit. Yeah. It was interesting because Hamilton had made a mistake slightly earlier to let Verstappen get right up on him. And there was during that battle, there was a great point where you could see how much the DRS was worth to Verstappen, because when he had it, he could bring he could catch up by half to 2/3 of a second in that single straight. But when he didn't have it, he didn't get it. He barely caught up at all. Just a perfect demonstration of the DRS for the people who were new to F1, like they always are. Lots of new people. Welcome. Hopefully you found our show. And it perfectly showed it off. But the big gains, I would say here, were that it's not like Hamilton's Mercedes was just leaving the Red Bull in the dust. On those straights. And there's been a lot of talk this year of what were the regulation changes? And there was a little interview this guy did with Toto Wolff where he basically was just like, the regulation changes. They asked him, the regulation changes there to punish Mercedes. He's like, yes, essentially, definitely. And it's the high rake thing, lots of aerodynamic, high rake aerodynamic versus low rake aerodynamic, and high downforce cars like Red Bull have had the regulations go in their favor. And for the low downforce teams like Mercedes and Williams and Aston Martin as well, it hasn't quite gone in their favor. But at least at the pointy end of the field where we've have been disappointed by the lack of competitiveness, I think it's kind of sorted itself out. And it showed in those last few moments. I thought it was a nice clean battle from Verstappen and Hamilton. I don't think it was really a track limits thing. Verstappen kind of got his overtake a little bit wrong, carried too much speed in the corner, and you can't overtake when you're off the track. That wasn't necessarily like a track, as much as that wasn't about a track limits gaining advantage, having your lap time deleted. That was just no, you can't just be off the track to overtake a guy. That's not cool. So he gave the position right back. There's been a lot of chat about should he have given the position back in a slightly more advantageous spot. All of those things, it's like that. I feel like it moves away from the spirit of that rule, which is that you overtook badly, you should give the spot back immediately, not like try to negotiate a slight advantage still from overtaking illegally. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but in theory, I guess he's thought, well, there's still 3 laps to go, and I've closed this gap easily, and the first time I tried, I sailed more or less right past him. I just couldn't keep it on the track. So he was probably thinking, this will be an easy go next go round, but he sort of had chewed up the best of his tires, tracking him down and then following, and then having to follow again. And probably his head was also just, I'm sure that there's a thing about drivers' heads where they just get in the wrong space and all of a sudden it costs you a 10th. And then Hamilton's head was just like head down, bum up. That gives him a 10th. So, it was only a one-time thing that he really had a chance at, but he would have had that in his mind. Like, I'll just give it straight back to you because there's 3 laps to go and I'm just going to get you again, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Exactly right. While we're talking about the front runners, I was just having a look at the standings. Now, something that would always seem to happen recently is that you would have either like the 2 Mercedes out the front, and then there'd be a bit of a gap to Max Verstappen, and then there would be a huge gap to the middle of the pack, and then another huge gap to like Haas and Williams down the bottom. And it felt much closer in the midfield yesterday, but maybe not any closer than previous years. And I know that Bottas had a pit stop at the end to go for fastest lap, which he subsequently got. Good for him. So he finishes 37 seconds behind Verstappen. But then Norris is down another 9 seconds behind Bottas. And then if you include the pit stop in that, while McLaren had a nice looking weekend, Norris in 4th and Ricciardo in 7th and looking pacey, they were still essentially not almost a minute, but like as good as a minute behind the leaders, or at least 30 seconds behind the leaders. That's over, it wasn't a particularly long race. That's still not quite quick enough, is it?
If you're McLaren, as long as you're ahead of everyone else, you'll be thinking, that's enough. But, it is going to be really tight. I think we've seen the last couple of years tightening in the midfield, but it is only going to be tighter. So, as long as we've got a battle at the front, I'm sort of okay that, I thought you were going to say something along the lines of like, how come Bottas is so close to like Mercedes or the McLarens? And then how come Perez, like, starts from last, and then he can almost see Bottas at the end of the straight. Bottas is in the car that won the race, and Perez is in technically the fastest car. How do you separate them by almost the entire length of the grid, and they still finish so close on the grid? Because it was a great drive from Perez, not the kind of drive that was just typical for him, where he just pits, one or maybe half time in a race, and then just drives forever. He actually stopped a bunch of times and had to do a bunch of overtaking, but Perez was in recovery mode, and probably for the first time really in his career, he's been able to do that in a car that was really souped up and capable of pulling all those overtakes that you need to do to recover. But Bottas did have a crappy pit stop where he was probably 5 or 6 seconds off the leaders, and then he had a long stop where he was held stationary for an extra 8 seconds or so. So he was about 13 seconds behind.
Or something?
Yeah, and then they were telling him, hey, Verstappen, and I think they said stinky. Hamilton, Verstappen's getting a bit stinky, so if you might want to hang on to the back of that. And it's like, well, thanks. You might want to not fuck up my pit stop by 8 seconds. That would be good too. But Bottas was a little bit anonymous, but it was made to look worse than it was. And maybe that late pit stop for fastest lap, I mean, it sort of seems like a bit of a no-brainer anyway. Just do it to get the point. But it also disguises a little bit that he was off the pace.
I think that there is it's a shame that we didn't get to see Perez maybe helping out this weekend, really making that fight at the front a big concern, because this is how it's been for the last few years, is that Max Verstappen's up there trying to cause trouble for Hamilton and Bottas, and forcing Mercedes to have to do things that Bottas fans would always say would disadvantage Bottas, which is kind of true a lot of the time. But goodness me, I think Perez is going to cause Bottas some serious problems this year, because Perez is not, as long as his car's okay, I think he's experienced enough to not really make some of the mistakes that some of the junior drivers we've seen in Red Bull in recent years make. And Bottas is just not going to be able to cruise around in second and third, just being like, oh, well, it didn't quite work out for me this week, but I'm on the podium again. I think that Perez is going to put a lot of pressure there, and that'll be really good for Verstappen, because no longer will Hamilton only have to think about Verstappen and a little bit about Bottas. He'll need to think about somebody else, and that puts pressure on Mercedes, and Mercedes strategically haven't always been that strong. They're feeling pressure from a couple of points now, a couple of positions, in that their car is probably not the fastest at this point. Still pretty good, pretty handy, you would say. But if they can get some pressure as well from Perez, and if maybe McLaren could speed up a little more and maybe put a little bit of forward pressure, at least in the first half of the race, then things would get really stinky up the front.
It's going to give Bottas some sleepless nights, I think, but it's also probably going to give Mercedes some sleepless nights, because if they're close, they've been used to having one driver winning everything and another driver right there in case anything goes wrong, and that's more or less secured them the constructors. But if Hamilton and Verstappen are trading wins, all of a sudden where Bottas finishes could determine the constructors, and they'll be worried about that. Let's cast our eye away from the front runners for a little bit. Maybe we'll just work down the grid and see who we want to talk about. Leclerc actually doing fairly well. There's a bit of chatter that Ferrari are having done their time in the naughty corner last year, they might be on top of some of the issues. Obviously got Carlos Sainz coming into the team for this year. Probably didn't have the greatest of races, but I'm sure that he'll be looking forward to pegging back some of the gap that he's losing to Leclerc at the moment. But it seems like a step forward at least, which is sort of a bit silly to say, hey, how great is it that Ferrari are probably looking like the fourth fastest at the moment? But it's better than sixth or seventh fastest.
Yeah, I'm just impressed that they're in the midfield. This is race one, and we had some pretty consistent performances from the teams that you would hope you would see that from. And I think Ferrari was one of them. There was, Leclerc was just at the front for a lot of the time, and it was like, oh, he's not really getting left behind here. I kind of, I was interested to see that him and Ricciardo kind of fought it out for a long period. There was that great point where Sainz was trailing both Alonso and Vettel as they were fighting it out, and he was just like, I'm just going to wait and see what happens here between you two, actually. Like two world champions and my hero, one of them being my hero. I'm just going to see how you go, and then maybe I'll run past you. So yeah, I think Ferrari will be happy with that step forward. It's a bit of an awkward year though, right? Because how much development are we going to see on a lot of these cars throughout this year with the regulations changing and spending caps and development tokens being reduced, all of the kind of things that are attempting to control the spending on the sport, you wonder if there's going to be big leaps early in the season that we sometimes see from teams like Mercedes. Maybe there will be less of that this year. But yeah, overall, I think we saw a punchy Charles Leclerc and Sainz, which is what you want. You just don't want to hear them complaining about the car and not being given the tools they need to at least put pressure further up the field. Speaking of a little bit of pressure up the field, my disappointment of the weekend was Pierre Gasly, having qualified. Did he qualify fifth? Yeah,
that sounds right.
He qualified fifth, and Tsunoda had a really weird qualifying where he did incredibly well in Q1, and then it just didn't come together for him at all after that. And then it was kind of the opposite on race day, right? Gasly was doing really well off the start and then lost his front wing, and then I think there was more damage there than it seemed. It's not like he came in, replaced the front wing, and then it was all good. He just didn't. He DNF'd in the end. So yeah, I think the car was pretty effed up. But Tsunoda had a great race. Came from essentially the back, finished in the points, lots of fun overtakes, great on the radio. Like I'm a big fan, Rod. I'm a big fan of this AlphaTauri team, and I think their car looks awesome with the white rims. And every time I see it, I'm like, that it's square where all the other cars are round. I love it.
It's funny that you said that because I remember saying in the pre-season show that how much I like the Alpine, and I remember riding on board with Alpine. I didn't even realize, I didn't clock, but I was like, boy, this car looks good. What car's this? And I realized the Alpine, that matte finish and the color scheme. It's just, I think that's a really pretty car. No, I agree. Tsunoda, I'm on board as well. Big fan so far. Love everything that he's about, and look forward to seeing a little bit more of that. I was going to also mention in terms of the McLaren battle, which was Ricciardo and Norris. It was really interesting to see. First of all, Ricciardo out-qualifying his teammate, which is like no news there, but also people talking about this as being a really important time for Norris, but it's also a really important time for Ricciardo. Obviously, these two drivers arriving at this team at this time with the opportunity that they have. Someone said that they have had to sit these two down and just explain to them very, very earnestly, we are a team. We will all perform best when we work as a team. And I guess they're trying to get in front of any potential issues that might spring up down the track if podiums are on the promise, for example. But
it was very tasty at the start, right? They were dancing around each other for the first two laps, and it was tricky stuff.
Exactly. And Norris got his elbows out and ended up the victor. And Ricciardo was trying to say, oh yeah, that's because there was a safety car and it saved his bacon. But it seems like Ricciardo's got a little bit of work to do just getting settled into that team, whereas Norris is already settled. So it could be a little bit of that. But I think this battle between those two is going to be a really interesting one to watch in terms of how it sets up the next phase of, they're standing within the team or whether they leave or whatever. That's a really interesting one to watch, but obviously a solid performance from them at this race. We could look at Haas. Is it time to cast our eye right down to the back of the grid and look at Haas?
Let's do one positive before we get to the Haas.
I don't want to end on the negative. That's why.
Okay. Oh, great. Let's do Haas then. Which spin would you like to start with, Rod?
Mazza spin. We start there, I think. Gets three laps into his F1 career and spins and puts it in the wall. Didn't look like there was anyone around. He just got it all kinds of wrong. Looked like he was maybe up on the curb and got too excited on the throttle or something, but a bit of an adjustment to come for poor old Nikita. And yeah, old Mick Schumacher didn't look much better, frankly. I don't know if this car is just a bit of a handful to get on top of, or if it's just inexperience. They're obviously both rookies, but it's so weird to have them both spin when there's no one around and just ruin any chance of a good race.
And the Mazepin one was like into the wall, like broken car. They've been having trouble there apparently during testing and during practice and during qualifying. It's a slippery point. That Haas looks like an absolute handful. And yeah, I don't know. Mazepin, right? It's how good is he? I have no idea. I'd said on the Discord that I fully expected him to cause. I fully expect him to cause some lap one problems and some T1 problems, corner one, and that's exactly what we got. So I'm not surprised. Shame for Haas generally and Haas fans generally that it just doesn't look good, and you wonder how it's going to get better. because they looked to nothing in qualifying. At least if you're a bit of a Williams fan, you've got George Russell being able to get out of Q1 pretty consistently. He knows how to get one really good lap out of that Williams, but I'm not sure if the Haas has any good laps in it at all, which is a real shame at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I guess if you're a Haas fan, maybe you're hoping that Mick Schumacher can get a bit of a gap on Mazepin quickly, so that he turns it from being a contest into just leave me alone. And then, obviously, I think Williams are a step forward on Haas, so they might have a lonely time at the back of the grid this year, but we'll see. Do you want to talk about just how nice it is to see Alonso, Ricciardo, Vettel all back together again? Like the old crew, they're back together again, right there in the midfield.
I know. I couldn't believe it. Like I feel like since, and I've mentioned this on the show before, like I went to Monza in 2014, and my main memory of that day was just watching Alonso follow Ricciardo around, seemingly for like long periods of that race. And then it just feels like however it shakes up in F1, Alonso will find himself blocked by Ricciardo at some point in any race that they are both in. Whether by a quirk of tyre strategies or whatever, pit stops, whatever it is. And we had a bit of that today. But really the highlight was seeing Alonso and Vettel in probably similarly equipped cars, right? Like they're probably, maybe the Aston Martin's a bit better than the Renault, would you say? Or sorry, the Alpine, would you say? But they look pretty evenly matched.
I mean, having said that, I feel like, formerly Racing Point, now Aston Martin seems to have taken half a step forward, whereas Renault seems to have taken, formerly Renault, now Alpine, have taken half a step back. But yeah, they're probably just in a weird grey zone of just, we're not really sure how to get the best out of this car right now, and we're not that great either. So they're both struggling with that same problem. Yeah, you're right.
Apparently, Alonso had a sandwich packet wrapper blocking his brake duct, which caused him to retire. He didn't seem upset about it, though. Just seemed happy to be there. He does stand out as being old, though. He's not wearing a cap in every single one of his photos like Vettel is. It's cool, man. You're just be bald and be proud. It's fine.
Any theories about? Yeah, exactly. I thought we're going to have a bald. We're going to have a little bald segment here. We're going to talk about. I thought you were going to just leave it there and just make it like an unspoken thing. Like if every week we might just have some subtle reference about Vettel being bald and not actually explicitly call it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just
you're going to start calling him Kojak or something.
Well, I'm cool with it, man. Like we're all cool with it. Just it's not like you've got hair on the top of your helmet either. Like we're not all sitting around being like, oh, the F1 drivers.
That's it. Really That's hairy. What he should say. He should. Hey, look, when the helmet goes on, we're all bald. And hair costs you a tenth, so it's better.
That's right. Exactly.
What else is there to talk about from the race?
What else is there to talk about from the race?
What about this?
All the commentary highlights from the fact that it's the first race of the season, so you get to relearn everything about Formula One, and every single time because I watched qualifying this weekend as well.
Oh dear!
And it is absolutely terrific having to hear David Croft explain how stupid qualifying is every time. It's like, so they're going out on this tyre because if you qualify on this tyre in Q2 and you have to use that for your race, unless you don't get through in Q2 and then you can pick whatever tyre you want. Yeah. And it's just like, as he's saying, it's like, this sounds so dumb, right? And and it's just so bad.
You should hear yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's no good. And we got to listen to him all race talking about track limits, which was just such exciting stuff.
Oh, they did Australian accents too, which is fun.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. Shame. And it was horrible.
Shame on you. I've got something not racing related if you want to close out on that maybe.
Yeah.
So when we started doing this podcast, big thing, spray, drink, drop. Big thing, spray, drink, drop. And then it became no drop. I don't know if they were told, don't drop that bottle or something, but all of a sudden no one was dropping. It was just spray and drink. This week, today, no spray, just drink. No, it's just drink. Did you notice
COVID?
That?
I didn't
know.
I had it on the little screen when we got to I put the ceremony and stuff. I listened to the post-race interviews.
No spray, really absolutely no spray.
Podium.
Well, I think there was only one. I think it was Hamilton dunking his, the person, the team representative that they sent up. That was the only.
There was the CFO
fluid
I think,
exchange
this time for Mercedes.
Oh, was it? Interesting. I don't know. It's one of those things from Formula One that it's like, we used to have this special thing Basically, we were the only two who would reference it. Spray to drop. But now it's just ruined. It's gone forever now. I don't think we're going to get it back.
Maybe there's a bit of cheers. There's a bit of cheersing that goes around.
Sometimes a bit of cheers, which is interesting. They hold the bottle right at the top, right at the neck, and then they cheers right at the bottom. It looks like you're getting a real wrist work. You could hold that bottle into a real wrist.
Strong wrists, strong necks. They're joint strong
that.
Formula One drivers. Strong in the joints.
Joint strong. They're joint strong.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe because I'm guessing Bahrain, they don't have real champagne in them either. So is it maybe that the fruit drink doesn't spray very well? And Hamilton knows that. So he knows it would be not the climax that he was hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, there's never stopped them before, but you're right. It is always a fizzer, if you pardon the pun, when they try. You could be right. Should we move on to Fantasy Focus?
Have you got a name? I'm pretty sure you don't say it like that.
I say it like Fantasy Focus, where we look at the Fantasy League. Obviously, the Fantasy League is back up in action. If you haven't joined yet, it's not too late. Trust me, you will do better than me if you're even half decent. But you get into fantasygp.com, you find the Super License Universe League, and you make your team. You stick it in. I think we've got 68 players, punters already on the cards. That seems maybe slightly down from last year, but I mean, it's only round one. That's to say, I think that's pretty good. And then thinking back on my team that I put together and how they went, I was not looking forward to looking at the results. But boom, I pull up the results. Do we start with the podium or with us? Where do you want to go?
Let's start with the podium. Why don't you? Do you want to go? We can go one for one. Why don't you do third? I'll do second. You do first.
Okay. So this was the top three for this race. This will also currently be the top three for the whole league. And if you're paying attention, you'll know why. One race out of one. But yeah, number 3, team a lot of hassle, manager kilogram and 955.
183 points. That's a good haul. I would say if you could get that any week, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be right up there. But Big Nickhouse from team Big Nickhouse, 205 into the 200s early, Rod, this season.
Ooh. And then on a mighty 211, 200 and legs 11 is in position number 1, team Hasovich Racing by big old Mike Nickus, although he's not so big anymore. An incredible performance from Mike Nickus, a huge fantasy enthusiast from way back, and really, really
massive
pleased
friend of the show
to see.
As well.
Yes, a big friend of the show. Really, really pleased to see him topping the league. And I think he quipped something like, "It's only down from here." But no, come on, man. This is the year of MN. You're going to take it out.
Yeah, that's right. So you said you were feeling confident this week. Why is that? I haven't found you on the list. I'm frantically scrolling.
I don't think I said confident. I'm number 1. I'm on the front page, which that's always my goal. Love being on the front page. Scrolling down, I thought my picks were a disaster, and I was like, I'm going to be legitimately bottom 5. But number 24, Amplified Ducks Racing RW Gordon, 146, 90 points. Yes, 146 points. 24, Zach. Reader than weep.
That's why, because I didn't look any further down below my name, which is one above yours, position 23, with 149 points. Obviously, my single choice. I'm just going to bring up my team just quickly. Let me go to the Pitwall on fantasygp.com. If you're not involved, you should get involved. It's
Wait, I'll throw to you on the Pitwall. Wait, this is like when Crofty throws to Christian Order. So I think we've got Zach Priest down on the Pitwall. Zach, how is your fantasy team coming along? What changes have you got in store for us?
I think it's going quite well. No, that's my bad voice. I think I got a lot of points because Perez came from the back. I think that's what it is because, the pictures don't line up. This is definitely not Perez's picture and it's definitely not Daniel Ricciardo's picture. That is a Carlos Sainz picture, really? 100%.
Oh, no.
They haven't updated them yet, but that's okay because the pictures, you don't get points for the pictures. I don't know why I have Haas as one of my cars though. That was me with budgetary restraints. But yeah, do you think you're going to make some changes for next week already? Week 1 changes?
I mean, so this is a tip that I picked up from somewhere else is go for money early, which means get drivers in now that you think are undervalued so that in a few weeks they'll gain in value. Then you'll have more money to get rid of all the drivers and start again. I'm going for that strategy. So I've got drivers in that I know I'm going to get rid of. Basically, I'm going to clean house. May or may not also have Perez at the moment, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep him, to be honest. But yeah, that's my strategy.
good strat. Not good enough for position 23, but good enough for 24th, which, front page. That's all you're hoping for.
This is quite the rivalry we're building, is what I'm trying to say. Look, thanks everyone for playing fantasy already. If you haven't already signed up, you can get the details off the Twitter that we've tweeted them out a couple of times. I'll do it again after this show. Don't worry about it. It'll be in the show notes. My gosh, I'll do it this time, I promise.
Do you want to just do a quick scan down the front page and tell me if any names that jump out at you?
We absolutely should do that. Let's do that.
I like
on the first page,
aerodynamics.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good one.
What have we got? Oh, I'll do page 2. I like Aston Farton. That's pretty good.
Yes!
Very, very good.
I'm glad it was available. Whoever got it, that's great. What about Poison Fruit Loops up here?
Oh, nice.
Strong, I would say. The one straight underneath that is Sauber Grapes. That is terrific. That is perfectly in my wheelhouse. Love that.
Yeah, you've done extremely well there. I'll skip
job,
on to page
WW.
3. I'm still looking for some good ones. Cheeky Landos. I like Cheeky Landos from John.
Yes.
That's very good. What a reference.
Perfect.
Who else we got? Oh, Romeo and Julieta by Vincitori. Former. Did he sweep the league last year? I think he might have.
Pretty sure they did.
Currently in 56 with a bit of work to do.
Playing
a bit of a recovery job needed, but I'm sure he's
he
up
had a
to
high rake team, so should bring low rake. Yeah,
there's your problem.
Or the other way around.
I forget whichever one was good.
I forget which one is the low rake is Mercedes, I think. God, you don't come to it. We're not. This show is specifically not that show.
No. High rake teams have been given the advantage. That's exactly right. Yes. Anyway,
I don't know. Look, all I know is that the audience has massively grown for F1 because of Drive to Survive. It's happening everywhere, and all of those people couldn't give a toss about the aerodynamics. And look, that's to say, if you do like the aerodynamics part of the sport and you listen to our show, that's awesome. I wish I got some extra out of I think they're the people who enjoy the F1 the most, right? Who love the culture and sport of it, but also really love the technical side too. You have it the best. This is like, if you could have created a sport, this would have been it.
I'm just really glad to see that our Super License commentary series, Dare to Swear, has driven Drive to Survive to the #1 spot worldwide on Netflix. Well done, us, I say. Clearly, we influenced that. If we had done a commentary series over the top of Tiger King, that would have resurged straight back up to #1. Oh,
God, Tiger King. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, a year ago.
Ugh. Did you... I don't remember seeing the email from Netflix telling us that they brought us in as a commentary track officially on Netflix.
I mean, it's a Netflix. It's officially about the Netflix show, so it's officially about them. Officially,
yes, and it's officially ours on our podcast stream feed.
Officially,
maybe we should trademark Dare to Swear actually, because you can see them coming up with a behind the scenes of Drive to Survive, the making of Drive to Survive, Dare to Swear. Fuck them, no way.
I like that.
Do you want to do a quiz?
Shall we move on to Super Quiz? Yeah, let's do it.
Will we accept a couple of questions? Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round 1?
Can you repeat the question?
Have my finger poised on the button, ready to get into the Super Quiz. Zach, you volunteered to jump on the grenade for that is the first Super Quiz of the year, so thank you very much for that. You're going to be quizzing me.
Yeah, here we go. Bahrain 2021. That's not what the quiz is. The quiz is, I'm just going to call it the Rookie Cookie Quiz. Or Rookie Kookie? That doesn't feel as good.
Rookie Kookie.
Rookie Kookie.
You know, Tsunoda is the last of a long list of drivers to take points in his first race of his rookie year. It's true.
Oh, right. Well, that's questions 1, 2, and 3 done. Thanks, mate. Jeez Louise. No, we're going to have we got some questions around the rookies. Not a huge amount, because I thought we had a lot to talk about in the race, and you just want to ease in to the quizzes this year. The first question comes in kind of 3 parts, and then it's got 3 elements to it. Made some anagrams out of 3 of the newer drivers on the grid this year. I'm going to read them out. You're going to tell me which drivers they are, which ones match up to which ones. So are you ready for the 3 anagrams?
Just to clarify for me again, there's only 3 rookies this year. Is that right? I think so.
I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. Okay,
2
great.
that we like and 1 that we don't. But here we go. 3, not doing a count. I'm just telling you that there's 3 anagrams. I'm just going to read them in a row, and then you're going to tell me which drivers match up to which anagrams.
Okay,
Are you ready?
Yep.
Great. Adios, Yuknut. Happy chicks, mum. Massive dickhead. That's Adios, Yuknut, Hacker Chick's mum, and Massive Dickhead.
Adios, Yuknut must be Yuki Tsunoda, I'm guessing.
There we go. Yes.
Dickhead. What was that one? Is it Adios, Dickhead?
No. Massive Dickhead.
Massive Dickhead. Okay. I guess
That one might not
good.
use all the letters from the person's name, actually.
Oh, okay.
That might just be how.
Are you saying that you've added some letters in? Because
And then there's so the other one is Hacker Chick's mum.
I guess I'll go Mick Schumacher for that one.
Yep.
And then the other one, Mazepan?
Yeah, Mazepan is the Massive Dickhead.
So you got Dickhead.
I just added all.
Nikita Mazepan. There's no D.
No, I just added a bunch of letters because I don't like him.
Ah, very good. It's not so much an anagram, it's just
No.
your opinion, isn't it?
No, and I'm thinking that he might be the last time he comes up in any of my quizzes either, because he's not in the rest of the
Okay.
quiz.
Valid.
I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. So that was Adios Yuknut was Yuki Tsunoda, Hacker Chick's mum was Mick Schumacher, and Massive Dickhead was Nikita Mazepin. I shouldn't have started with Yuki Tsunoda when I put them into the anagram maker because these aren't handcrafted. I put the names into the generator
give away
to
our
see,
secrets.
and it brought up 500 different ones, and then you just scan them and you look for the funny one. Adios Yuknut, I was like, that should be just the quiz, like that, and then you get that, and then just end the quiz because that was so great.
You'll have to let me know how that's spelled so that it can be the title of the episode.
Or just use the letters from his name and work it out.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah, some homework for you. Take the quiz home with you. So that was question 1. Question 2. How much does the Mick Schumacher half-size helmet that he sells on his online store go for? How much is it, Rod? In euros.
They're not.
How much do you reckon
They're not
a
particularly,
half-size helmet
they're not particularly
replica would
cheap
cost?
thing, and I'm not great with euros. But I'll just throw a number out there. Let's just say it's 100 euros.
I'm going to say as near as. You're in the ballpark. It's 117 euros. Do you think you would spend 150 Australian dollars or 130 US dollars, probably around there, or 110 pounds?
I mean, personally, I wouldn't, not for his, but is it some kind of like replica of his dad's design or something?
No,
if so, then
it's
he could have
just
charged a lot more.
Yeah, he could have. No, it's just the current
All right,
Mick
then.
Schumacher
Well, no, thank you.
helmet,
I'll-
half size.
On this occasion, I'll pass. Thanks very much.
Okay, well, Rod, it was Mick Schumacher has a whole store dedicated to him. A little bit more difficult for some of the other drivers on the grid who haven't quite got their merch game on track yet, but I have managed to track down the AlphaTauri store.
Of course,
it was
you have.
more difficult than you would expect, actually, because
Just managed to be
look
browsing it about 8 hours a day for the last 3 weeks.
if you look at the AlphaTauri store, it's mainly their fashion label. And then they're like, oh, do you want F1 merch? Ugh, nerd.
I suppose
All right,
we
well,
have
you can go
some.
over here, buy a lanyard. So, whose miniature helmet costs more, Rod? Daniil Kvyat's or Yuki Tsunoda's?
This is a quiz question, so I'm going to go with Daniil Kvyat.
Well done. For bonus points, do you want to tell me how much Daniil Kvyat's costs? Knowing that Mick Schumacher's is 117 euros.
Yes, of course. So I'm gonna say it's probably up there in the sort of 90 euros, maybe
It's more.
more.
And it's
is
more
it more
than
than
Mick's.
Mick Schumacher's?
Oh, yes, it's more than Mick
That
Schumacher's.
is just wrong. It can't even be labeled as like Russian driver, because it just has to be stateless driver.
Yes, stateless unknown driver who no longer drives for this team.
Homeless driver.
Yes. Do you want to know? Or do you want one more guess?
Is it 200? 200?
No, it's in the middle
crazy.
there. 149 euros. The same price as Pierre Gasly's. Tsunoda doesn't have one. In fact, there is, from what I could find, no Tsunoda merchandise on the AlphaTauri site, which is a real shame because I was looking at his Instagram and his, like the Tsunoda cap, like it's got a slightly short brim and it's a flat cap and it's awesome and I love it. And that was what I would buy if I was at an F1 track.
Whoa.
And I can't find
Is
any
Tsunoda
Tsunoda
like
stuff.
the new... Is he our new favorite driver?
He might be Team Super License's new favorite driver. Maybe.
Sorted. I'm glad we
It's the whole
sorted that
thing.
out.
It's the whole look. And all their photography is on point. All their PR is on point because they're a fashion brand. AlphaTauri. There's nothing in his past that has come out so far that would mean that I would
so
be
far.
upset by him yet. And he seems cool. I got one question left, Rod. Keep the good times going. I've got 2 quotes for you. You need to tell me which one is Yuki and which one is Mick Schumacher. Okay? Are you ready?
Yeah, got it. I'm ready.
Saturday Night Fever, man dancing emoji. That's quote number 1. And quote number 2, I will run to the new stage of my dream. Which one is Yuki? Which one is Mick? That is Saturday Night Fever, man dancing emoji. Or I will run to the next stage of my dream.
This is a trick question. They're both Yuki.
No.
Well, then in that case, my real guess would be Saturday Night Fever dance man emoji is Yuki, and the other one is Mick.
No.
Oh.
The other way around. Yeah, I know. That's a shame.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean that's a real low to finish the first quiz of the year on. But no, it turns out that because I wonder about that, right? I wonder if the Mick Schumacher quote, would he be a guy who would use a man dancing emoji? He doesn't feel like he would be, but then again, who is? Maybe everyone would use man dancing emoji.
If not him, then who? I mean, maybe Verstappen, but it's not a Verstappen thing.
No.
After you've taken polls, but I find it, but anyway.
A bit funny that Yuki will run to his next stage of his dream as opposed to drive there.
Run. When it's easy in the dream. He could teleport, take a spaceship. Yeah. He could ride on a dragon if he wants. It's a dream, man. Do what you want.
Get to the next stage of my dream. This part sucks. I prefer the next stage.
So a couple of things. I did see on Twitter, and I retweeted this because I thought it was ridiculous that someone had done one of those things where you blur out the driver's face and guess the driver. Here's some facts. Did you see this?
I saw you posting about it.
What the fuck was that about? So, I mean, of all the drivers on the grid, Lewis Hamilton has some quite distinct physical features about his person. And to just blur his face does, pixelate it, does absolutely nothing to obscure who he is. And I mean, I just don't understand what that was about. And for it to be the first one, it's not like they went, oh, look, we have to crank out 500 of these this year. For it to be the first one, you had 6 months to put that together. Friggin' rageous. The other thing I was going to point out is, boy, it's a good time to get into the Discord because we were talking about maybe chucking these questions into the Discord for people who punters, who want to have a go. So I don't know if we're going to give that a go, but if you're curious about that sort of thing, if you've ever listened to us get all the questions completely wrong and said, geez, I could have got all of those, maybe we'll try and set up some way that you can quiz yourself and you'll get the questions before the episode comes out, but only a little bit. And then you'll, that way we still get to do the quiz and we don't know the answers until you've recorded, but before the episode lands in your ear holes, you get a chance to have a go. I don't know. It's something we've been thinking about. Maybe let us know if you want that sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. Join the Discord, let us know.
There you go.
Is that a way that we could somehow outsource the quiz so we could just write questions and not have to go and find the answers? Put them in the Discord and then people would answer them. And then as the quizmaster, I could just take those answers.
Some hidden channel that I'm not in that you're outsourcing. That's just, it's very clever. Yeah.
That's all the quiz.
Sorry, I had to cough very loudly. Excellent quiz. Thanks so much. I like that. I always like when there's new drivers to talk about because I don't know much about them. And now that I've learned that we love Yuki Tsunoda, we need a nickname though for Yuki Tsunoda. So we'll get to that, like Yummy Yuki or I don't know. We'll get there. Wow,
straight to Yummy, huh? Is that your final thought that he needs a nickname?
Final thoughts. I have more of a personal one, like less F1 related one. So I don't know if you want to go first or if you want me to do it, then you can pick us back up. But yeah.
Why don't I go and then you can give us a personal one.
That sounds good.
So I was really, there was a really good article, and I posted on our Twitter that was talking about how Drive to Survive is so awesome and doing such a good thing for F1. And maybe other sports should do it too. And other sports are looking at it, but it's because of the relationship between the way that F1 builds teams, right? Or the way it is competitive between two drivers at the same team, that team against everyone else, the team principals against their own drivers, the team principals against other team principals. So there's a lot of dynamic and a lot of drama. There's a lot of different dynamics and a lot of drama being created by those dynamics. And could other sports do a Drive to Survive type series that would elevate the brand of their sport and bring it into more homes? An interesting article. Maybe at the end of the show, as I'm talking or as Rod's talking, I'll be able to find the article's name and you can look at it yourself. But what I thought was maybe an outcome of this is because so much of the dirty laundry is going to be aired in the season anyway. I feel like the interviews with drivers and team principals are getting very direct because they're like, well, you're going to hear from me anyway, so I might as well just say it now. Like this is exactly what it's like, or this is what the car is junk, or the car is great. Like it's become very, very, very open and honest, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before. That the flow and effect of the fact that all of the behind the scenes stuff, all the stuff that we would usually be guarded about, is going to come out anyway. So I may as well just. And people react so positively and strongly to that I may as well actually just tell you in my formal interviews, use informal language and be a bit more casual. It could only be a good thing. And anytime any driver does that, people fall over backwards with praise to say, like, thank goodness a driver just speaking his mind instead of being like an automaton. Yeah, people love that.
I've got the article here now, by the way.
Give us the headline.
It is the Formula One, that's WON, the drama and decadence of Netflix's Formula One series Drive to Survive, hashtag dare to swear, is a model every sports league should follow. It's by Kevin Clark. It's on The Ringer, who do great sports coverage and produce some great podcasts as well. So go find that. It was published on March 25th, but if you just search for The Ringer Formula One, WON, I'm sure you'll find it. Thank you, Kevin Clark.
As in the TV formula, it won, as in one. It's the winning formula is what they're trying to get at. It's good. Exactly. It's a very clever little turn of phrase there.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, my final thought, and my final thought is so small in terms of stakes compared to yours, so I'll add a few things to make it feel a bit more substantial. But anyway, I've been feeling really like crazy tired, like just drained. Like I don't believe in like a soul, but I feel tired in my soul right now. Just completely ruined all the time. It's okay. We've had sickness go through the house and all the rest of it. But anyway, and one thing that really annoys me is when I run out of teaspoons. So what I've been doing, anytime that I would normally reach for a teaspoon, but a dessert spoon will do, I just use the dessert spoon. Just putting some sugar in your coffee. You don't need a teaspoon for that. Just use the big spoon, man. You won't run out of teaspoons so quickly. So there's my tip. It's a life hack as well as the final thought.
Wow. It's a good one. Obviously not in the dessert spoon, not in high demand, it turns out.
No, well, they never are. That's the thing, right? You always run out of teaspoons. You never run out of dessert spoons, do you? Unless you're having a pavlova party or something.
So we're not stealing them from the office right now.
That's exactly right. You can't do that. You can't go down to Nando's and steal a teaspoon. They don't have them. You can steal everything else. They just don't have any teaspoons. So that's my final thought / life hack. Other things that I'll maybe just throw in just for the sake of because that's a bit weak. Yeah, I said to Zach before we recorded today that I've been having heaps of mic problems and they had come to light in other things that I've been recording. So out there in the wild, if you've got literally nothing to do, you could always, there's some other things you could listen to that I'm on and speaking to. First of all, honorable mention to my brother who's launched a little movie podcast, and it's just a fun little hobby movie podcast, but it's called Popcorn and Choc Tops. You can probably guess what it's about. It's just started. I'm not going to be on every episode. I'm going to be on a few here and there though. But it's when this finishes and if you've got nothing else in your queue, you could always queue that up. I'm just saying. Then there's obviously my music podcast, which is This Must Be Talking Heads. This Must Be Talking Heads, about Talking Heads, the band, not the other things. And there's various other things, and I'm trying to dominate that hashtag on Instagram with Talking Heads related content. But man, that TV show needs to go away, and that other guy who wrote that book needs to go away.
I got a notification on LinkedIn 16 hours ago that says, congratulate Rodney Gordon for 9 years at movierants.net.
Why the fuck is that on there?
So I would say you're uniquely qualified to be on your brother's movie podcast.
Yeah, you should congratulate me for shutting down movierants.net about 7 years ago. That was going to be a blog about movies, and then I did several, and one of them was actually very popular, but it went away also just as quickly, and I'm pretty sure it's been shut down. I don't understand why that's on LinkedIn. I will take every step to remove it. I didn't realize it was there.
I thought it was nice. And look, when you come up in my feeds, it's always nice to see your face.
It's always nice. So yeah,
that's good. We've got a couple of weeks till there is the next race, which is where, Rod? Good question. Yes. It is in I was going to say Bahrain because that's the only place we race anymore. Oh my God, Italy? Really?
Isn't it Imola?
Fuck. Wow. Sorry. Pardon me. This is the great one, right? They were talking about this on Box of Neutrals, which has been kicking it out of the park recently, by the way. Quick shout out to those guys. This is the Formula One Pirelli Gran Premio del Made in Italy
Yes.
del Emilia Romagna 2021 race. Not too much of a handful there. 16th to the 18th of April. Wow, we're in Europe early this season. That fills me with glee. That is so cool. But it's not till the 16th to the 18th of April. So what are we going to do to fill the time between now and then, Rod?
Oh, look, I mean, this was another thing I was going to ask you, but I have now watched all of Drive to Survive, but boy, I'd love to rewatch them and keep this Dare to Swear season going. So maybe we fill in the gap each week. We put out another one of those.
Yep, let's do that. So we've got a couple of those coming your way into the feeds. I'm guessing probably similar times each week that these
Roughly,
come out.
yeah.
We'll probably just keep that to that same similar schedule. So yeah, we've got a couple of weeks.
And then another thing, while we're in this pre-season, early season glow that we're all enjoying right now, one thing that's coming your way very soon, Zach, that we've been working on behind the scenes a little bit, just tinkering with things, just like tapping the side of things with a little wrench, just getting things in order is a stunning, amazing new thing.
Yes.
And you're going to tell us what it is right now.
Oh, so you took the mic off me to sizzle the thing. Anyway, yes, this is the super licensed, patented, trademarked F1 Team Selector flowchart Megatron thing that we have built that will help you because look.
And your friends.
And your friends as well, and all the people who have come to the sport recently. But you know what? There's been a lot of new teams in F1, and there's been a lot of changes and a lot of shuffling of the grid, you might say, of the pack.
Yes.
And you might be in the market for a new team or know someone who would like to follow a team. Or maybe you're looking for a second team. Maybe you're like, you know what, my heart will always be with Aston Martin, but I would like a second team that might win something or maybe competes further down the grid, whatever it is. So this is a flowchart that asks you, follow you along, asks you a series of questions and will help you find the team for you in poster format. It should be finished very, very, very soon. So keep an eye out for it in the next few days. It'll be, what, we're going to put it on the store, maybe? I'm guessing that's
probably be on the
what
website. There'll be links in the tweets. There'll be links in the Discord. There'll be whatever. Yeah. Everywhere that you see things from us, we'll try and get it out there. And, well, I mean, keep your eyes open for, if you're in a special place, like say the Discord, we might even drop a little discount code if we can work that out to say, hey, use this discount code to get just a little bit off if you feel like investing in a poster or something. So again, never been a better time to jump in the Discord and support the show. That's the important thing. Not only are you going to find the team of your dreams, your absolute soulmate in team form, but you're also going to pick up a sweet little thing to pop up on your wall just as a constant reminder of Formula One. You will find your team. You can put it, this is a good thing I was going to say, is that you could put it up on your wall and use that, when you're on Zoom calls, people will see it as well. It'll be a nice little talking point like, hey, what's that? You go, that's just my F1 Team Selector flowchart.
Perhaps you'd like an F1 team. Why don't we work it out for you now as an icebreaker on this call?
That's what I'm saying.
Just like that. Yep. So that'll be available very soon. As always, if you'd like to support the show, you can jump on the website, superlicense.com.au and go to the store section and have a look at mugs and stickers and t-shirts and all those kinds of things to rep some Super License, or as we said, just support the show. You can support us on Patreon. Just search for us on Patreon. You could join the Discord. You can follow us at Super License on Twitter. Send us an email at superlicencepodcast@gmail.com. We'll probably need some questions coming up between races when we run out of Dare to Swear to do, when we start doing some shakedown between race weekends. So we will always put out the call for questions. You can also join the Discord and ask us podcast questions in there as well, as people have been doing, and we will get to them when there are slower races weekends or boring races, which hopefully we will have none of, but I still hope to get to your questions. Fantasy GP, join that. We already plugged that. Got any other plugs?
Boy, so many things. That's way too many. The only other thing I was going to say is, like you've probably watched all of Drive to Survive 2 now as well. And I think that there's a broad sense out there that this maybe isn't the greatest season so far of the three. But in answer to that, in rebuttal, I would say that makes it prime for a uplifting, humorous, commentary, official commentary over the top that will bring it to life, that will add that spark that's missing, and we're going to be delivering that in Dead Sphere. So stay tuned.
I can't wait. I haven't finished all of it yet, by the way.
Okay. What have you been doing?
I've been busy watching the race and stuff, live because I'm in the right time zone.
The race.
Watching current F1 stuff as opposed to
Watching
crusty, stale,
1-2 hour
year-old F1
geez.
TV shows. Been watching Ted Lasso.
Well, I can't. Yeah.
Oh man, that show, Jesus Christ, is so good. I don't know how every episode is so good, but it's so good. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say before we finish off the show?
I don't want to say anything else.
All right. Well, then, in that case, do the thing. No? Shit, you're not going to say anything else. Well, it's been my pleasure. Until next time, when you join us on Fuck off.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, I've been Rod.
And I'm. You know what? I might not be here next week, so this might be Zach signing off.
Zach, we'll see you next week with Dead Sphere. Thanks for listening and stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.